Jonathan, you don't have like the best movie track record.
What are you
What's that
talking
supposed to
about?
mean, Elizabeth?
Like, your movie choices are not like the best.
My movie choices?
Elizabeth, can you
for
put
the
your money where your
podcast?
mouth is right now? Name some movies, Elizabeth.
No.
Elizabeth.
No. I meant like
The
all the
Shrek?
other movies that we used to watch.
What do you mean movies we used to watch?
Okay, like we'd watch a movie and then you'd go on to this like weird like tangent about these other older movies that you'd watch.
Elizabeth, are you holding a screwdriver?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just calm down. Just calm down, Elizabeth.
Okay, we talked here.
Hey,
It's all right.
you're right. Hey everybody, welcome to The Late Train, where we review old movies decades late. My name's Jonathan,
My name's Anaki.
My name's Pear.
and showing up for the first time, even though he's been in the group chat since the first we have.
Max, it's me. Hello.
Hi, Max.
Welcome, Max.
Hi.
That's Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's Elizabeth.
As usual.
Our producer.
Well, first off, I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a little bit. How's everyone doing?
You guys-
Anything fun? Anything fun going on in anybody's lives? I don't know.
School?
That's right, school.
Same. Same.
Yeah, adjusting to the semester has been kind of fun, but yeah. All right, well, this week Max chose the movie. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, Max?
All right, this week we watched Herbie Goes Bananas. It was released on the 25th of June, 1980. It's directed by Vincent McEvedy, who directed many of the films in the Disney The Love Bug Herbie franchise. It stars Joaquin Garay III, Charles Martin Smith, John Vernon, Stephen W. Byrne, Alyssa Davalos, Harvey Korman, and probably like the only real like big name in the movie, Cloris Leachman, which you might know from Young Frankenstein and Raising Hope. At least that's what I know her from. And it grossed $18 million.
What?
It wasn't. They don't have either they don't have the information worldwide, or they didn't release it worldwide.
I don't
Which I think is really funny if they just didn't release it worldwide, seeing as it.
They didn't.
It is an
Alright,
international
there you go.
movie.
Because it would. I don't know. I chose this movie because originally I wanted to choose The Love Bug, the original one, because that's the only good Herbie movie in my opinion. I'm a connoisseur of Love Bug movies. Not really. But that was released in 1968, so we were 2 years off. And then there wasn't one that was released in a year corresponding to our current year until Herbie Goes Bananas in 1980. And it is I don't actually know if it's the worst one. That's the thing, is I went into this thinking it was the worst one. I'm not sure, but I'm curious what you guys thought.
I'm
Maybe-
astonished that this isn't the worst one, Max. There's a worse one than this.
I don't know. This one is really bad, but I think like
As far as I
Monte
know.
Carlo was annoying, and yeah, that's it. Monte Carlo.
Okay,
was really
so
annoying.
here's my thoughts on the movie. Not to give my summary too early, but this seems like a movie where they at least tried, and it felt like it had all the right ingredients, but somehow they were mixed up wrong.
Yeah.
And it just didn't gel. Does that make sense? Like they
Yeah.
had a charming kid, they had some funny visual gags, they had kind of a funny other adult character, but for some reason the plot was interesting enough, but for some reason it just didn't gel. That's my take on it. I don't know.
I think it's because it was made by a bunch of white Disney people in the 80s.
I think mismanagement is a good
I think
term.
that's
It
the
really
main thing that
feels
kinda-
like it was mismanaged. When
Yeah.
you're watching this, it feels so mismanaged.
The way
Yeah.
I felt was it felt like a lot of scenes compiled together, but that
Yeah.
never became a movie, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
It felt like one event and then one event and then one event, and you're just like, yes, and you're along for the ride.
Yes. I'm just going to explain maybe the first scene real quick, because this is going to go into a little bit of, I think, to talk about a deeper, just give an idea of what's going on here. It starts out, Also, I have no idea what happens in the previous Herbie movies, but I'm pretty sure it matters 0%.
Yeah, it does. They kind of mention it. They mention it a little bit, at least the previous one, but it mostly doesn't matter.
Because in this one, Herbie's got a brand new owner, two kids who are two, like probably early 20-year-olds who I assume are related to the previous Herbie owner.
Nope.
They're not even related. How did they get the car?
Well, I think that someone just like told them. I thought that they don't mention.
I thought there's like one line, but I thought Pete, the brunette, I thought he was like Uncle Doug.
Did he say that?
That's what I thought. I thought they were related. I thought he was like his uncle was giving him the car that was in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico for some reason.
Right. But I have no idea what the other character's relation is to him or to Doug.
I mean,
I think he's just a friend.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, and I can talk about that a little bit if you guys really want to talk about it, because I've watched all these movies very recently. Yeah, I watched, so I could fill you in if you have any questions. But Jonathan, you should continue filling in on the first.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, we've mentioned Herbie all this time, but for people who aren't familiar with Herbie, it might help, Max, if you describe the lore of the franchise a little bit.
The lore.
Why is Herbie the way he is? I have no idea.
Here's the basic rundown. I was gonna make a video about this for my YouTube channel. And then the summer got real heavy, and I felt like it wasn't the time to make a video about the Herbie franchise. But basically, in 1968, Disney releases The Love Bug, which is basically just they're making a Chaplin movie about a car. That's basically the pitch, right? Is this car is going to get into, they're doing a lot of like funny stunts with the car, and the car can drive itself. And we don't really get an explanation as to why Herbie is alive. He just follows Jim Douglas home, and then hilarity ensues, and he ends up racing Herbie, and Herbie is alive. He drives really fast, and he drives when you don't want him to, and he's hitting people with doors, and he's Jim Douglas has like the love interest in the car, and they're like kind of going on a date, and they start to argue, and she's like, "Now take me home." And he's like, "Okay." And then Herbie drives them to like a makeout point, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm not doing this." And so like it's 60s funny, I guess, but it is actually pretty good. Like there's genuinely funny things that happen. There's a really problematic character named Tennessee Steinmetz,
of course,
who's like, he's like, "Me, Herbie, you know," and Herbie is named Herbie after his uncle. Tennessee Steinmetz is like, "Oh, my uncle got in a car wreck and his nose looks like a love bug, so we'll name this guy Herbie." And it's like, all right, sure.
Okay, yeah.
So then the second one.
I would love to have Michael here to talk about that a little bit, but
right. And then the second one, Herbie Rides Again. Jim Douglas and Tennessee Steinmetz are gone. Herbie is now with Tennessee Steinmetz's aunt, I think, and she's like this old woman, and then she has this young woman staying with her, and then they get into like, hilarity, and there's an evil businessman who wants to tear down the cool San Francisco house that the first two movies kind of take place in. And then the third movie, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, Jim Douglas is back, and he's got Herbie, and they go to Monte Carlo, and there's jewel thieves, and they hide a jewel in Herbie's gas tank. And so there's kind of this like, "Ooh, we got to get the jewel back," but I know, like, how does that work? And then they race, and then Herbie Goes Bananas is the fourth one. And so they kind of mention here, they're like, "This is the car that won Monte Carlo or whatever." And it's like, yeah, that was the last movie. Good job. You guys remembered. And still, we don't really have an explanation. In the second movie, at the end, spoiler alert, to stop the businessman from tearing down the house, it's one of those classic, all of the construction like things are like outside the house, and there's like people trying to like protect the house. Herbie literally rallies up all the other Volkswagen Bugs in San Francisco, and they all come to life, and they all go to the house. And
wait, what?
Yeah, and the main villain is terrified of Volkswagen Bugs because Herbie like really like haunts him. And so the villain had this nightmare earlier in the film of the bugs like coming for him and trying to eat him. And so then at the end, Herbie makes all these other Volkswagen Bugs come to life, and they follow him into battle basically, and and then they go and they chase the bad guys away. And so that's where I had a lot of questions when I rewatched them recently, where I was like, how does this work? What is
Oh.
Herbie?
And in this movie, of course, we don't get any answers.
We don't
Okay,
even
I
hear the
have
name Herbie.
I have
in
a
this.
potential answer.
Yes.
Oh.
Because, okay, I don't know where I read this, and I don't know what movie it's in. It might not even be in a movie. This might just be a fan fiction or something. But
Herbie loaded fan fiction. I love it.
okay,
I'm gonna go on fanfiction.net and see.
Okay, apparently, from what I read, like, either whoever built Herbie or like a mechanic who was working on Herbie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, and do you want to know what?
What?
That's canon.
It's canon?
Yes. So
Okay.
so after this movie, the franchise stops for 17 years or like 16 years until 1996, when Peyton Reed, the director of Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, directs a TV movie for Disney starring Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell?
Yeah, starring Bruce Campbell. And it serves as a reboot and a remake of the original movie, and also kind of a reboot of the franchise, in which we learn about why Herbie is alive. And I think, Anagi, this might be what you're going to say. The German engineer who poured the molten lava that made Herbie's frame, he had lost his wife. And a picture of his wife fell into the molten metal. And his love, it's not his wife. Herbie is not his wife's spirit.
Oh, I was about to say. Okay.
But the love that he had for his wife fills Herbie. So Herbie is fueled by love. He's brought to life by human love.
Mm-hmm.
But in that movie, the main bad guy learns of this and commissions that engineer to make Horace the Hate Bug.
No.
Horace the Hate Bug.
Who is an evil Herbie. I think it's a new beetle. It might not be a new beetle.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
But you know how Herbie's like, it's like Herbie's white, so Horace is black. And it's like and they race, and Horace has spikes in his wheels that try to push Herbie off the road. It's classic. I need to watch it, but that's the reason Herbie is alive. At least that's the reason as of 1996. I think in the first movie, Tennessee just says like, love. It's love. Love makes him alive. He's a gentle spirit. And then Herbie Fully Loaded. They don't talk about that.
Doesn't talk about it.
They don't talk about that because it's not really necessary.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that's the only canonical reason other than love, ? That's the canonical reason why Herbie is alive.
Well, I am on fanfiction.net, and I found some really cool Herbie fanfiction.
We're not going to discuss
Jonathan,
There's-
just because we're not live on Twitch does not mean you could read your weird porn fanfic.
There's Nancy Drew and Herbie.
Oh, shoot.
Which the description is,
Sounds
where's the description? Oh, I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, a story I've had in my head. I love Herbie and Nancy Drew series. It's pretty good.
Right.
And the only other one I want to highlight is Herbie Dino Thunder, which if some of you will remember, Dino Thunder was one of the seasons to Power Rangers. So this is essentially a Love Bug Power Rangers crossover, which sounds absolutely amazing. And it's got 8 chapters, so
Maybe
it might
that's
be finished.
the future of Herbie. That's where the franchise is going to go. They're going to start doing crossovers.
Dude, okay, imagine a Power Rangers crossover with Herbie, and it turns out Herbie's a Megazord.
Whoa.
And he transforms into a giant bug, dude.
Yeah,
He's
it
a
was
love
the missing
bug.
piece.
See, here's the thing: is I also watched Bumblebee the other day.
Yes, it's a
and
very Bumblebee-like
that's the
story.
modern Herbie movie. That's what Herbie is now. It's just Bumblebee.
I heard that one was actually kind of good.
It was pretty good. It was fun. There's like literally a chase scene where I was like, "This is just Herbie."
All right, wait.
He's driving, and they're like,
Can I-
"Stop driving, B," and it's like, "This is Herbie. What are you talking about?"
Can I make a comment on something you guys said about Herbie Goes Bananas? So, Jonathan, you were saying pretty much how it's like, I don't think you need any prior knowledge of any of the other movies. I couldn't make any sense of jack shit in this film. Oh my God, what is happening and why?
Are you serious?
There is no plot. There are no characters. Things just happen for no reason.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
What is the plot? There is no plot.
Okay.
Here's the plot. Or Max, do you want to do the plot of this?
Well, I mean, basically,
hear
for some reason, Herbie, number 53, is in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And two young guys who were going to go race him at like the Brazil circuit or something
Which
like
doesn't
that.
even happen, by the way.
I know. I was like, why didn't we get that?
I was waiting for the
You're wrong.
racing,
It
but
felt
there's
like,
no
it
damn
felt like
race
they
in
were
this
doing
movie.
everything to keep it from reaching the race. Like they were like,
Yeah.
gotta throw in another thing to kill time
Well,
so they don't
you
have
know
to do
what-
the race.
You know what it is?
Oh
I'm
my
pretty
God.
sure. I'm pretty sure they had wrote the race into it, and then they realized they didn't have the budget to do a race scene. I'm 100% sure that's what it is. Because
But what
all of the story
filmed-
beats point to them racing at some point and winning the race.
Okay,
But
but
then there's no race at the end.
the only number I could find for the budget was $10 million. So still, that's a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
Okay,
Especially in the 80s.
that really irks me because throughout this entire movie, I was thinking, this movie has time for this? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? And then they set up so much that there's no payoff ever. They set up so much all the time. The first 75% of the movie is setting things up, and the last 25% is shit just happening, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite part is the kid in this movie because I don't remember what the kid's name is, but I call him Mexican Short
His name is
Round.
Paco.
Oh, Paco.
I said Tycho. That's close.
But again, what I love about this kid is that you don't know if he's going to be a main character or not for like the first half hour of the movie. It's a very much like, will they, won't they? It's like, okay, will this kid come back or not? Because there's still unresolved plot points, but they're not really developing him as a character. And then he does end up being the main character of the movie by the end of it. It's brilliant. It's awesome.
Brilliant is not the word I use.
Yeah.
So okay, the plot is Herbie's in Mexico. Two guys go down to Mexico to pick up Herbie because they're gonna race him in the Brazil circuit or whatever. But then one of the guy's wallets gets stolen by a kid named Paco. Meanwhile, Paco has also stolen the wallet of what's his name? Prindle, I think is the guy's name. Of this like deep voiced guy who's after Incan gold.
Which I had no idea they were after.
Not established until they
Wait,
get
are
to
you
gold.
serious? No, they talk about it. There's a scene where they talk
At the
about
very beginning,
it.
at the very
like
beginning,
ancient
they're looking at the
Wait.
pictures, and one of the guys goes, "Is this it? Is this really Inca?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, it's Inca."
I
you know?
got
I
that.
missed that line. Yeah.
Okay, but I guess I was still confused about what was on the film because they just said, "Oh yeah, is this Inca?" And then they lose the film, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta get that film."
Yeah, I don't know what
and
it
there's
is.
no explanation.
I guess it's
It's
like
just-
pictures that they can look at and be like, and compare to various sites in Mexico and be like,
Yeah.
"Yep, this matches. This is
And
where it is." If it
I
was a map, that would make way more sense.
Exactly.
I was
Why is it a film?
desperate to know what was on the film, and I was like, why are they keeping it a secret? Like, is it some secret? Is it the code to how to make cars alive or something? And then near the end of the movie, they just walk upon this gold, and I'm like, what was on the film? Because they still never show it. Was it a picture of a map, or
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Well,
They
I
don't
think
show
it was
and
like
they don't tell. They don't do either. It's not show don't tell and tell don't show. They don't do either.
I'm gonna sound super dumb here, but what's the movie where you never find out what's in the briefcase? It's like that.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, yeah, it's like Pulp Fiction,
Yeah.
but for kids.
Herbie Goes Bananas is like Pulp
It is the original Pulp Fiction.
It really is.
Quentin Tarantino definitely stole it.
So Paco steals both the film and the racers' wallets, right?
Yeah.
And then he mixes them up. The film gets put in the other guy's wallets or something, or maybe that's not true. Maybe Paco was lying about that. So, anyways, this gets insane immediately so the opening scene is them trying to get the car, and then I thought they were just gonna steal the car. Like, I thought they were like, "Hey, can we take this for a drive around the block?" And it's like, that's garbage. Like, this guy's running a business. Like, why are you doing that to him? And then they just went to try and get their wallet back. And that's like the first 30 minutes of the movie, I feel like, is just them chasing him around trying to get their wallets back.
Yeah, everyone's trying to chase Paco.
Why
Yeah.
does the movie have time for this?
The chase scene is so long.
It
It's
is.
so
Every scene
long.
is so
It
long
is.
for no reason.
And nothing really happened. Like, it's not even exhilarating.
It's not
He's
even,
just
like,
kind of mildly
funny.
jogging away.
Yeah, and he like hides behind a woman, and then he hides
Yeah.
in like a little basket, and then he hides inside Herbie. And it's like, you could have just done that from the beginning. We didn't
Yeah.
have to do this whole goose chase around the block.
And then he also, what did he put in the mailbox? Like
The wallet.
the wallet.
Yeah.
So that's the.
So why were
bad
they still
guy's
after the
wallet?
kid if they just needed to open the mailbox and get their wallet out?
Oh, because so they did get, remember, so he's talking to the policia. They opened the mailbox and they say, "Oh, is everything there?" And he says, "Yeah, everything's here." But everything wasn't there. They were missing the film. And so
Oh.
that's when they chase after the boat and they're like, "Ugh, we'll
Yeah,
get him.
so
We'll meet him in Rio."
so yeah, so then Paco is in Herbie's front trunk, and they put Herbie on a cruise. The drivers get on the cruise, and then the bad guys are like, we'll meet them where their cruise stops, because they got to get off before Rio.
Mhm.
And then we meet the captain of the ship, and
The only realized character in the entire film.
I just want to establish that this character, first of all, Aunt Louise has an attraction to toxic men, and someone needs to say something.
Yeah.
She deserves better. Why is she going after this guy who, one, thinks things were better when pirates were around? Two, this is the first line we hear him say. Okay, here we go. The women were then turned over to the crew. The select
I
ones
remember.
going to the officers, naturally. The wenches were escorted below, and believe me, there was no poetry or by your lead or how lovely you look tonight, madam.
Poetry.
And I was
This is
like,
at dinner.
Yeah.
yeah, he's talking
Okay.
to just passengers of the cruise, right? And he's just like telling them this horrific, like, I think we should go back then. And it's like, you are a terrible person.
But yeah, I really feel like his character is, one, the only bit that they use that actually works, and two, is also the most fleshed out character.
We know what he
so-
wants. We know what his dreams
Yes.
and ambitions are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
And everything he does is tied back to things going back to pirate times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He wants to
he's-
get back to his ship. So okay, yeah. Also, so on the ship we meet the captain, we meet Aunt Louise, as played by Cloris Leachman, who is like, she's really horny, you guys. She's like,
Extremely.
she's a
she
cougar.
really
She's a
wants
cougar.
the captain. She's like, I need him, like, now. But she's also traveling with her niece Melissa, who is
Why?
potentially the coolest character in the film if they didn't treat her like a joke every time she said she was going to be a doctor. She's like, I'm going to be a doctor, and they're like, oh, a doctor? And she's like, yeah, of Latin culture studies. And they're all kind of like, huh. And so
Oh.
she's like,
Can I
stop
just
talking
say
about the
something?
doctor stuff.
Really quick. I literally think 90% of the characters in this film have no purpose at all. Why do they exist?
100%.
Why are they there?
100%.
They don't do anything. They're in the movie for maybe 10 minutes. They have no point. They're just there. It's
Yeah.
literally also, what's her name? The niece. The niece really
Melissa.
doesn't have any purpose. The two guys who are the drivers don't really have a purpose.
No.
It's weird. It's so bizarre. This movie is so bizarre.
Also, I have a concern because they refer to Aunt Louise as Aunt Louise, and if she's the niece, then and she was smooching with the driver, are they related?
No, I think they're just calling her Aunt Louise because she's the aunt of Melissa, I think. I
But
think
why
Melissa
why
calls
is
her-
Aunt Louise? She's sponsoring the car because they met at dinner.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, she's
see,
sponsored.
that's
Yeah, good.
because Pete there's DJ and Pete, and I don't
Yeah,
remember
Pete-
which one.
It doesn't
the hot one.
matter.
Pete is the hot one.
Pete's the driver and DJ's the comedy relief.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Who doesn't provide any comedy?
provides nothing to the story.
Literally,
At
all
all.
of these characters shouldn't be. They should just be Paco and Herbie. Those
Yeah.
are the only characters that matter.
No, I
Literally
think it should be
nobody else does
Paco.
anything.
Here's my rewrite, okay? Paco and Herbie, and somehow Paco gets a hold of Herbie, and then Paco brings Aunt Louise and the captain together.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that should be the movie. Because
Yeah.
that would be fleshed out. You'd have enough time for arcs. But no, now we have so many characters, we have no
But-
clue who's
No.
who. We don't even need a
And
villain.
better than
Why is the
that,
villain in
right?
here? You know? The villain doesn't even have a purpose at this point.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Okay, so DJ convinces Pete to hit on Melissa, so that Aunt Louise will like them more. But
Mhm.
then DJ just talks to Aunt Louise and is like, "Racing's really cool, you know, and we're likable young men, so sponsor us." Like Pete didn't need to do the Melissa thing at all.
Yeah.
And also, as soon as I saw Melissa, I was like, calling it now. Melissa's gonna lose her glasses and let her hair down and become hot,
Oh,
you know? And
Yeah,
not
we
even
all
like
called it.
3
We all
minutes
called it.
later, not even 3 minutes later, they're dancing and she's like, "I'm not beautiful." And Pete takes off her glasses and says, "You are beautiful." And I was like, screw you.
I like her glasses too.
I know. Like she's
Yeah.
like she's just like, she could have been really cool. She could have been awesome.
She is
But-
the definition of the stereotype of like
No, she was cliche.
like yeah, like, oh, I'm not like other girls. I
Yeah.
read. And that's her only personality trait. It's like I don't talk to boys, I don't do anything. All I do is I read about Latin culture. And then it's I don't know. And then their whole
Yeah.
relationship, he's like, I don't want to hurt you. And like how? Like what do you mean? Is it because
No, yeah, nothing's even been established. It's so funny how they danced once, and
Yeah.
then whatever, the aunt is like, "Oh, so you like my daughter?" And he's like, "Well, you know, I just don't want to hurt her." And then she's like, "You bastard! Don't ever talk to me again."
And
I
she
was like,
puts her
"What
glasses back
happened?"
on.
Yeah, I was like, he didn't even say like, "Oh man, I'm just in it for, you know, that sweet ass," or something like that. He didn't say anything. He was just like, "Man, I really don't want to hurt your niece." And she's like, "This asshole."
Yeah.
Well, because she deduced that he didn't really like her.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's just
But
it's just the pacing. The pacing is really
Pacing's
strange.
really
Oh
weird.
yeah, it's all off in this movie.
Yeah.
I will say though, I love the okay, so Herbie's down below deck and Paco's inside of him still.
Indeed.
And there is a man, a very stereotypical Italian man,
Armando,
who, right? Who is who
who was my favorite character.
Yeah.
is the best character because
Munch.
because Herbie opens up the trunk and Paco steals his lunch and he hears munching from inside the car. And his first instinct is, this car is eating my lunch.
Yeah.
And I love it so much that
Which
no question, this car is eating my lunch.
which starts an interesting theme where like it seems like no one is really concerned that Herbie's driving himself.
They take it in their
Right.
stride. I
Yeah.
would say this is that it's so funny how the fact that the car is driving itself is not the concern. The captain's like, "We have to punish this car for making a big mess of my boat." You're not concerned that the car is alive and sentient in any way? Walk the plank, you sentient car. What?
Well, that was the part where I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because like they basically murder Herbie. Like they kill
Yeah.
Herbie off in this
Yeah.
movie. And I'm like, he's been in this for 4 movies. That's a big commitment
No,
to make.
Jonathan,
He comes
you
back.
don't understand. Herbie dies or almost dies in like every movie. Literally in the first Love Bug, Jim Douglas gets a different racing car because he's sick of Herbie's crap, right? And Herbie kills this car by ramming into it multiple times. Like you
Jealous.
hear the noise from the garage and they go out and the car is like, it's basically just like a puddle of red paint and like
All right,
scrap
giving
metal.
Herbie
And they're
some
like,
depth.
Herbie
I like
killed
it.
this car, and so Jim's like, I'm pissed, and Herbie drives off into the night, into the foggy San Francisco night. This movie's insane, and I love it so much. And he's running through the foggy streets, and Herbie is like, making this really sad horn noise because Jim was like, I don't want him anymore, and so Herbie's like runs away, right, like a sad dog. But I'm not even kidding that Jim Douglas reaches the Golden Gate Bridge and Herbie is trying to throw himself over the bridge and he's honking and it's haunting. It's so sad and scary. And Jim's like, no, Herbie, no. And he's like trying to pull him off from going over the bridge.
Oh
And they
my
almost
God.
fall off. Like at one point, Jim's hanging from the bumper and he's like, okay, Herb, don't do anything because now Jim's hanging over the water. And like, there is precedent for Herbie being dumped in water to die.
Okay.
No.
Herbie sounds a little toxic.
Honestly,
that's what I was just saying. But it does give Herbie some depth. I feel like I'd rather watch.
that's true.
I would
That's
rather
what I
watch
wanted to watch. It's so good.
You know what I want to see now? You know what I want? Here's what we should make for next Christmas, Max.
Okay.
It's a Herbie life. And it's Herbie who's going to commit suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. But then an angel car comes down, tells him, no, Herbie, like, you've made everybody's lives better. And then you just do scenes from all the Herbie movies.
Oh, shoot.
He's made people's lives better. But I don't even know if he's made people's lives better.
I don't think he has. I think
honestly.
he's mostly made people miserable.
That's
guys,
the thing.
He earned Jim Douglas a lot of money.
Saying
But,
like Merry Christmas, but with honks.
You guys know that Stephen King movie, which is like a truck that murders people?
Yeah.
Oh.
I forget the name of it.
Oh, what's it
Christine.
called?
Yeah, it's a
Well, there's
terrible book.
Christine, which is the car that's alive, and then there's this other one where,
Oh, he made two?
yeah,
Coke will do
Written a
some
lot.
crazy things to you.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say they should
Yeah.
make a horror movie with Herbie.
well, see, that's the thing. This is what I want to talk about. So the captain dumps Herbie in the ocean, right? And we're like, shoot, Herbie's gone. He's dead, you know? So Paco ends up in somewhere else in Mexico fishing, right? And Herbie has swam to shore and has found Paco. And I was really frightened by the appearance of a drowning Volkswagen Bug honking and then opening its trunk like it's gonna eat him. And then he's like, Ocho! Paco calls Herbie Ocho the entire movie. And that's because 5 and 3 are 8, which I assumed everyone would know from the beginning. And then at the end, DJ's like, clearly 5 and
I had no freaking clue why he was calling it Ocho.
Oh, really?
Oh, you're an
No,
idiot.
I didn't.
I'm
I
just kidding.
thought for half
No.
the movie, I thought he was calling him Bocho, because that's what you call a VW bug in Spanish.
Oh,
And I'm
really?
like, wait, yeah. So I'm like, oh, he's calling him Bocho. That's cute.
That's cool.
But then,
Yeah.
and also all of the taxis in Mexico are Bochos. So it makes sense that he's a taxi.
Okay.
But
Okay, cool.
then I'm like, wait, he's not calling him Bocho. He's calling him Ocho. What the hell? Like, what's going on?
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, I had no clue. I wasn't
Wait,
smart
can I-
enough to figure it out.
No,
Can I
I'm not
talk
saying
about
you
the
need to be
scene?
smart. I mean, for me, I've seen this since I was a kid. So
To be fair, you have to have a pretty high IQ to understand Herbie Goes Banana.
So there's that scene where Paco finds Herbie in the water, right? And this actually might be my favorite scene, actually. So he brings him out and he's like trying, and so all those guys are like, oh yeah, this is dead. This is a dead car. And they still help him get it out of the water. And then Paco starts crying. They're like, yeah, cry, you dumb little kid. It was so funny. They help this kid pull out the car, and then he's upset that it doesn't work. And they're like, what a stupid kid. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, are you going to cry? It's so... What is this movie?
And then Paco's devastated. He literally makes a grave.
He spends
for Herbie.
hours building a grave for
Yeah.
Herbie.
He even puts a little cross, and it's so sad. And those same guys who were so quick to help him come back and are like, ha ha ha, and they have tools, and they're gonna hack Herbie up.
But also, talking about how toxic Herbie is, Herbie let Paco build a grave for hours. And then as soon as Paco starts to walk away, Herbie's like, no, wait, I can get up. I can
Now
do it."
you've proved your love enough for me.
He pulled a Kim Jong-un, man.
Herbie's like, does this kid really care about me? Let's find out.
Exactly.
Also, okay, yeah, I'm a little late on this fact, but so they used 26 cars in this movie, which there's a lot of cool stuff they did with the cars, but I was trying to do the math in my head while I was watching, and I was like, how did they ruin 26 cars? But anyways, the one that they walked the plank is still there. It's still in the water. They never got it.
Literally, my note while I was watching this scene was, okay, well, first of all, that's polluting.
Yeah.
Second of all, that car was someone else's property. And the drivers aren't even watching. They're not there when they dump Herbie.
Yeah.
They aren't. Only Louise is there. And I'm like, where are they? And then I think it cuts to them and they're just like, that's a shame. I guess we'll just have to get jobs at the next stop and work our way back to America.
Yeah, so there's a part where they're working as waiters in Panama, which is You guys don't even know Spanish, I don't think. Like, how are you
No.
doing this?
Because
But-
later Melissa has to be their guide to buy a bus from someone else.
That's right. I forgot. And also, I love it how some of the characters in this movie do that trick where like, oh, like these people can't understand English. I'll just speak English to them slower so that they can understand me, which is great because I knew people who did that.
Oh,
I'm
I know
like,
people who do that.
it's like, dude, it doesn't work.
That's not the problem. Isn't the speed at which you're speaking?
Exactly.
They don't speak it. I think later I said, haha, Mexican people are stupid and funny, and that's the joke, haha.
Yeah.
Just because like there's a lot of that where the captain's like, you idiot woman, I'm trying to use the phone. And it's like, okay, is it legal to just dump a car in the ocean if you're the captain of a cruise?
Well, the people in this movie did it. Like, you can search it up still. Like, it's
Wow.
scary. The picture of the car still there 40 years later is scary. It's
I want
like,
a Herbie horror movie. I want that car to come out of the ocean. I want
like in the dark ocean, you see his lights blink on.
Oh, yeah, see, that's the teaser trailer. Yeah.
Ooh.
Something is
What if-
coming. It's
So what if we did the birds, but it was the cars? That would be a good
well,
movie. I
again,
think.
Herbie bringing all those Volkswagen bugs to life is actually quite frightening. There's one that's like broken from a junkyard and it's like hobbling and it's like pretty
Oh
scary.
my god.
All
Yeah,
right,
so-
where we were. So Herbie comes back to life,
Yep.
and Paco's just like, try, and then he's good again.
Yeah.
He
Herbie's
spurts
powered
some
by
love.
love. That's the
Yeah.
power of love.
Oh,
You
yeah.
noticed in the news. That's what
And
that's
then,
what
and then
about.
Herbie lightly knocks one of the guys with a door, and he goes flying back about
Yeah.
7 feet.
The strength of Herbie can. I think I wrote here in all caps. I was like, Herbie cannot be killed. Nothing
No.
can stop this car, ever. He is unstoppable, and he will kill you with his doors.
But yeah, then they drive
Spirit of
away
vengeance.
from the bad guys.
Oh, and then there's a really terrible song
Yeah.
in which
Oh,
a choir of
God.
white
What's that?
people, in which a
What?
choir of white people says "Buenos dias" and "amigo," and it's
Amigo.
like I hate. And that's when I was like, the reason that this movie is so weird and terrible, like the reason that I don't think it works is because it feels like it was made in 1968. It
Yes.
feels like it wasn't like this is 1980.
Mhm.
This
Well,
is
I didn't look up the year that this came out. I'm like, oh, this is like 1960 or 1970 or something.
Yeah.
And now apparently it's 1980. It's like, wait, you guys could have done much better than
like this is
this.
post like Jaws and like there's a lot and you know like I feel like by then like blockbusters were already a thing, but like they're still like let's make a cutesy fun little, and then they stopped making them after this, I think because people were like we're sick of this.
Yeah.
This was
From what I read, this is widely considered the worst film of the franchise, and it made
Okay.
the least amount of money too. So
Right.
good.
yeah. What were you gonna say, Jonathan? I interrupted you.
Oh, it's not really important.
Oh, okay.
No, you're good.
So
yeah, they
yeah.
drive forever. They
do.
drive forever
yeah,
with this song going.
and they happen to end up in the same place as the drivers are waiting. They're not like they
Whoops.
don't they drive forever and then Paco meets the drivers again?
Well, this is what I was confused. So they drive forever, just randomly. I don't think they had a destination in mind. And then the bad guys find him after, right? Paco then paints on Herbie taxi, and I guess he decided that now this is how he's gonna live, is just gonna with Herbie as his taxi.
He kind of mentions at this point that he was in an orphanage or something, or like he doesn't want
Yeah.
to go back to the orphanage.
Yeah,
Which is like kind of the only real fleshing out we had about as far as
Yeah.
Paco.
And then while he's painting, somehow the bad guys are just there. I don't know if they have like a GPS tracker on Herbie or something, but they find him. Then they all automatically realize that they're best friends, and they're like, we're gonna cut Herbie up if you don't get that film back for us. And, oh, by the way, Paco's crying in like every single scene of this movie, and it's devastating. This poor little boy. But then Paco somehow finds the drivers.
Right.
Again, I don't understand how, but
he
he,
has,
does.
he has the GPS tracker on the drivers. See?
Yeah.
That's-
And then I guess so. The driver's wallet had the film because they got mixed up. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Paco, even though they're nice and forgive him, he still decides to just steal the wallet. I thought he was gonna like ask for help or something
Yeah.
and be like, please, they're threatening Herbie, and then
Yeah, he just steals it.
No. He would have said, por favor. We need to help Herbie.
Ocho.
We need to help. Okay. Also, let's talk about this. No one. The word Herbie is never mentioned in this film. And so if you go to the theater and watch this and hear, oh, I'm gonna watch Herbie Goes Bananas, you've never seen any of their movies, you'll be like,
which character here is Herbie?
Was Herbie the car?
Because he asks him his name. Again, I just love how it makes sense it kind of makes sense for Pago to just be like, yeah, this car's alive. Because I feel like kids would be like, yeah. But like Pago's like, what's your name? And he's like, mer, mer. He's like, I don't know what that means. I'm gonna call you Ocho. And that's the closest we get to Herbie to being called Herbie. He tries to say his own name, and it's just like, mer, mer. It's like, ah.
Okay, I've just got to go real soon. So can I give my rating, and then we can move that forward in the editing if you guys still want to talk about it for a bit?
Yeah. Sure. There it is.
All right. Is that a knife? Okay. Bye, guys.
Okay, so where we were at, he steals the wallet, he goes into Herbie, and then they're driving, and I guess they're stuck in traffic, and then the captain and Aunt Louise just happen to get in the car.
They both get in, and they're not together, but they get in at the same time, and they're like,
and they don't recognize Herbie either.
Right.
They're just like, taxi, and in a magic coincidence, get in the car.
They also don't recognize that it's a 7-year-old kid driving the taxi. He's literally talking to him. He's like, hey, driver. It's like, it's a 7-year-old kid. Can you not see this?
No, in fairness, isn't one of them holding like a giant something, like a big bouquet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a big bouquet of flowers. But it's funny, like they don't recognize that it's him until they take his hat off.
He took his hat off and he's like, it's you!
Paco!
You know how you recognize
normal
someone
taxi
from the
driver.
top back part of their head where you're like, that's Paco. You know?
Yeah. So then they're trapped in the car, I guess, because they're being chased by the bad guys, so Herbie doesn't want to stop, right?
Right.
And so they're being chased, and Louise, and then what's the girl's name? Melissa?
Yeah.
So Melissa is just reading on the street as she does, and she noticed them. Yeah, she notices them drive away, and then and then the drivers run into her, and then they go buy a bus for $340.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're following Herbie, but the bus is like crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the bullfight scene happens, and I'll let you take this.
Well, so the way that they get into the bullfight is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because somehow it gets to the point where the bad guys are right at like the paddock, like the opening doors to the bullfight that's happening.
Yeah.
And then Herbie comes up behind him and pushes him and pushes the bad guys into the ring. And rather than stopping the fight or trying anything to stop it, everyone in there is just like,
oh, okay.
Boo! And then they're like, all right, this car's in here now. And then Herbie rolls in and they're like, there's 2 cars in here now. Let's go with it. Like,
and then and they say a really funny line. They're like, oh, this isn't where we're supposed to be. And it's like, you realize it now when the bull is here. and so then the bull rams into the bad guys, but then the bad guys like just jump out of the ring, I guess.
Yeah.
And then
and
then Herbie is only in there with him and Paco and Aunt Louise and the captain. Yeah. And then this scene is also kind of strange because it's like the bull is just kind of like circling around them, and Herbie's kind of just like backing up and going forward, and then the bull gets tired after a while, and then it's like, yeah, we won, we beat the bull.
because the guy with I don't know the words for things, but the guy with like that classic like
matador,
right? The matador. There we go. Yeah. The matador kind of falls back and gets his cape stuck on Herbie's like front trunk thing. And so then Herbie gets to do like the, he's riling up the bull, and then they get hit a few times by the bull, and I'm like, this seems really mean to this bull to make it ram into a car, but all right, like they had to do that for this.
Yeah, it's 100% real. Like
definitely. I was thankful they didn't kill the bull at the end, at the very least. This was 1980s, just after the 70s. They didn't really have that harsh of laws. I mean, even good movies. In Apocalypse Now, the beginning, they killed like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of animals. It's so I'm gonna give them credit at least to not having a scene where they just kill the bull.
I knew it was a kids movie, but like when the bull kept getting really close and like Herbie's trunk was open, it kept feeling like he was just gonna like snap on the bull's neck.
Oh no!
I was terrified, but that doesn't happen.
And then everyone cheers because they made the bull get tired.
Yeah.
And then they like bow for everyone,
including Herbie.
Including Herbie. Herbie does also bow.
Kind of a cool car thing, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
It's just like his.
They had like hydraulics, like a.
Yeah. He bows.
Oh, that's right. Also, something about this scene. So, I bring this up. I was like, they have like kind of like this whole stereotypical thing going. That's fine. But then they have the paramilitar, the generalissimos, and they're all, yeah. And they're throwing the flowers. I was like, oh, okay. Now I can kind of see why this is.
Seems a little.
And also, every once in a while, there's just a hint of La Cucaracha that plays, and I'm like, please don't. Like, they never go full out, but every once in a while, it's just like, ba-ba-ba-ba, and I'm like, no. No.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the thing. And that's what I think is it's interesting. Like, I'm curious like what these extras made and like what the people like the like the policia and stuff like that. Like, I'm curious if they paid them at all for this movie, just because my concept of Disney at this time is not a good one. And so
honestly, probably not.
Yeah, and so I just feel like that's like, I don't know. So every time I see that, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I feel like
well, there's one line they didn't cross because I thought that Herbie was going to actually get a giant sombrero and wear it. And I was like, oh no. Yeah. So I was just waiting for that scene. I was going to be like, oh, that's going to be bad. But it never happened. So, thank God.
Yeah. So after this, I can't quite remember exactly what happens after this.
Okay, so
they run back into Melissa.
It's kind of like a filler scene for no reason. It was like, they have to like douse the bus engine and
right.
Oh no, Paco gets taken.
Oh yeah, the bad guys steal Herbie and Paco.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I don't think
Herbie gets away. Herbie gets away. They just have Paco, and then they go.
Oh yeah, Herbie goes away.
So they take Paco and they get the film. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just quickly want to mention, apparently, like in the reviews I read, everyone says this movie's horrible except for the bull scene, which is, like, okay. I mean,
I think it does deserve some credit because they actually did that. There was somebody driving, having.
Yeah. It's a cool little action sequence. Yeah. I'll give it that. It's just, it didn't blow me away, but I guess in the context of this movie, it is pretty cool. So.
It is like the most exciting part.
They steal Paco, and then they have to go get the ink and gold. And
like
the whole time...
There's no more gold other than that one.
It's just kind of there. They get Paco, and then they're like, aha, now we go to the gold. I was like, what? Wait.
The second that they grabbed the gold, I had no concept of what was going on.
Yeah.
And even when you know about the gold, the whole time I was thinking, like, why does Paco care? Like... Are they stealing it? It doesn't even really seem like they're stealing it from anyone. It's just them finding ink and gold.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like Paco isn't taking a stance, and Melissa isn't even taking a stance of like, hey, maybe we shouldn't leave this gold here, or leave this gold with community, or like the descendants of these people, or whatever.
But for some reason, they're hell-bent on stopping the bad guys.
For like like the bad guys aren't. It's not like they're gonna use the gold for like a nefarious purpose.
And if they are, it's
kind
never
of just no motivation in this movie at all. I feel like this is a movie that has like several core parts just ripped out of it. Plot, motivation, actual reason for characters. It was such a bizarre thing to watch.
So they make a big deal about Paco going back and stealing the film, right? And I'm like, okay, it's because he wants to save Herbie. But then instead of just giving the bad guys the film, he's like, we got to get out of here, and like runs away. And so if you're
Yeah.
gonna run away, what's the point of grabbing the film anyways? Like, why did you
Yeah.
go through the trouble?
And
But
also, once they had him and he has the film, like Herbie's fine, yeah. But like they could have just taken the film. They didn't need to take
Yeah.
Paco.
yeah,
No,
like,
exactly. I
why
was
are
thinking
they
that too.
so-
They
they're
went
so
through all the
invested in
BS.
Kid.
Yeah, they take the kid, they fly directly to the gold, they get the gold, and then they just leave Paco there. I was like,
Yeah.
why even?
and
Okay.
another devastating scene, which is kind of cinematographically like beautiful.
Yeah.
Is him crying in the rain.
Oh yeah, that was a
in the
good
jungle.
shot. That was a good
Yeah.
shot.
It's
Yeah.
devastating, but as devastating as it is, I still was like, why is he here? Like, what's the
Why is anything?
yeah?
Why is anyone where they are right now? Yeah, so then the drivers and the adult crew of the movie, because
Yes.
there's like Paco and Herbie, and then there's like the adults, and then there's the bad guys. And the
Yes.
adults get there, right? Or Herbie like shows them where Paco is, right? Don't they all get into Herbie?
Yeah.
Because the bus breaks down.
Yeah,
They all
yeah.
go get in Herbie, and then they go and get Paco. And Louise is like, Paco, we were so worried about you. And I'm like, I think you're the only one who was worried. I think everyone else here is kind of like no
Just
one
here
else
for the
has any
ride.
stakes in this. Like,
Yeah,
she's the only person here. Like, the guys need their car, and they have their car back. So they
yeah.
could just be like, bye, you know, but now they're kind of invested in everything. But like, so they all get in Herbie. So now our six people are all with Herbie.
Mhm.
And now it's just the six of them versus, you know, the bad guys versus. They're not doing anything.
Yeah. Okay. So they all get into the car, and then the bad guys are carrying the ink and gold,
Yep.
and Herbie drives through them, catches
And
the gold
catches
in
it
his trunk,
mouth. and then they go. And
and then they go, and then they drive
go.
away, and then they're like, "Oh, we have to take the gold to this doctor."
Right, like this
character?
person who's
I guess like an expert on
gold?
ink and artifacts.
It just seems so weird that
Like,
there
how
were
do they
so
know
many
that?
characters that had no stake or involvement in the story at all.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Why do Pete and DJ care? One, how did they even find out two, how did they even find out about this? And
Yeah.
three, why don't they just want their car? They had to be working
Yeah.
at a cafe. The kid who stole their wallet comes up, and they're like, all right,
They had
kid,
already
all right.
been working new jobs and had moved on with their lives when this kid stole their wallet again.
Then that's the other thing. Like the drivers, they're drivers. Their whole purpose is Herbie, right? In this movie, theoretically. And yet once Herbie's drowned, they have absolutely no cares in the world. They're just like, all right, I
Like,
guess
we
we'll
gotta
go
make
dating.
money to go back home. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's really weird. And you didn't have a plan for this?
Yeah.
Like it seemed like your college students who were just like, hey, let's enroll in a race and let's hopefully find a car.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But and then also again, why did Herbie take the gold? Like, I thought you came to save Paco.
Yeah.
But before you leave, you had to foil the bad guys once again.
Right.
And take their
At
treasure.
this point, it seems like Herbie's just like bitter. Like he's like,
Yeah.
screw these guys. And I'm like, I mean, I respect that, but like, I
That
think he'd be
seems
more
a
mad
bit
at the
good.
captain than anyone else. The captain should have been the bad guy here.
Yeah.
He dumped Herbie in the ocean. He like kicked everyone off his boat. Like,
Yeah, that's the point I didn't even consider. Why isn't he upset at the captain?
right. Like
The captain
Herbie should
killed him.
hate the captain. If Herbie's
Yeah.
gonna hold a grudge,
is
it should
true.
be
I
the
didn't-
guy
I
who
didn't think
dumped him
about
in the
that.
ocean.
I didn't think about it either because
I
you're
do
just
get
like,
why he's not the antagonist, because he's I'll get into this when I do my score.
okay.
Yeah.
So
But-
this is the moment. This is the titular moment. This is when Herbie goes bananas. Because somehow they're following banana trucks, and somehow Herbie has been covered in bananas. And I don't know why. I don't know how.
Yeah, somehow they attached themselves to a
All the
banana truck
bananas.
and simultaneously covered themselves in bananas.
And they also have
And-
bananas on the inside that DJ is eating, and he makes
Yeah.
like
And
what
it's
does he say?
definitely
He's
way
like-
less attention to have this big car covered in bananas. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
than to just be one of a million taxis that are driving bugs. You
perfect
know,
disguise.
Perfect
then
disguise.
They get to the doctor,
Yep.
and
Well, DJ makes a joke where he says, "Should we peel off?" And there's an awkward silence where everyone just looks at him, and like, okay. And that's like the only reason he's in the movie is to make that joke. I feel like that's his whole purpose is to make that one joke because they're like, no one else would make this joke.
Yeah.
We need a character who will make this joke.
Our comedy relief.
Yeah.
I mean, I was wondering as a filmmaker how you would do this, but also I noticed the shot of them when DJ's eating the banana, right? There's light coming in through the windows. There's clearly the bananas are not on the car. And then they cut out and the entire car is covered in bananas.
Yeah, it's just pitch black in the car.
So, I mean, I get why they did it, but I'm still like, it's so jarring.
That would have been a better joke. That would have been a much better joke. They show her covered in bananas, they cut inside, and it's dark, and DJ just says, I hope this car knows where he's going, or something like that. And then it's like, that would have been so much, that would have been so much better. Yeah.
And so they do peel off from the banana truck.
Yep.
Yeah. Get to the doctor. The adults go inside, and Paco is outside selling the bananas off of Herbie.
Like props to him for just like wherever he's at, he's like, we're gonna make money.
Yeah,
like
brilliant business sense.
Yeah, he's really good at business. Like we'll be a taxi, we'll be a banana, you know. Like,
yeah. And then when they go inside to the doctor place and they bring the gold in, the bad guys are just there.
And they're like, we knew you'd come to this, doctor. Yeah. And then they tie them up. We come back to them later and they're all tied up on the ground. And I'm like, no one fought back.
Nope.
Also, what's interesting to me is the captain just runs away at this point, proving that he had no reason to be there whatsoever.
None.
He doesn't like Louise. He doesn't know anyone else. He hates Herbie. He doesn't have any stakes in the gold. His whole purpose has been to get back to the ship. And so as soon as they pull up to that toll booth to go up to the doctor, he's just like, okay. And he's like, can someone give me a ride to my ship? And I completely forgot that he wasn't there until the end when he shows up again at the very end. And I was like, oh yeah, you just ran away.
Yeah, I guess he's another comedic relief character.
Yeah.
Which I guess works better than DJ at least. But
he's definitely better. Like he's easier to laugh at than DJ because DJ most of the time is just standing there going.
Yeah.
But
so
they take the gold.
Mm-hmm.
You go ahead.
Oh my God, that's right. This scene. Okay. So what happens is they get the gold and they're like, oh, they're trying to get it into the plane. And the only thing that's between Herbie and the bad guys is a very thin chain link, just a chain. It's not even a fence. It's just a chain. That's this tiny little thing. And it's like, oh, God, how are we going to get him, Herbie? and so he just starts launching bananas at them, and they are foiled. They can't do anything. They're like, oh, God.
They're flipping. They're sliding. They get covered in bananas so quickly. It's ridiculous. Like, they are just, like, pasted with just bananas.
Also, bananas are slippery, but they're on, like, pavement, you know? It's not like, and
also, it's just a peel. If you step on a whole banana, you're not going to slip.
Yeah, a whole banana. But I guess Herbie is just catapulting such a massive amount of bananas that, like, they can't avoid at least stepping on them. And then, I don't know, but...
He only had, 15 bananas left on him? Like,
yeah, but...
Like, they keep coming back to him, and he's got more bananas than he did before. And I'm like, where are these bananas coming from?
Yeah, and this scene is, like, insane to me because it's so clear that the actors are trying so hard to make it seem like they can't stand up.
Oh my God, it was so labored. I can't believe that they used that take. I mean, I guess they didn't want to waste the bananas. They're like, all right, we used so many bananas. We'll just use it.
And then, like, I guess the bad guy's boss or something who's driving or just the plane driver or whatever.
Yeah, the pilot.
The
plane driver.
Yeah. I don't know English, I'm sorry. And then so he comes out and tries to help them too, and he instantly the bananas are too much too. But they eventually, in all this time, Herbie can't drive up to them for whatever.
There's like 3 steps in the chain that Pear mentioned.
Yeah.
But there's also a grass hill right next to it.
Yeah.
Like they could just, if they're afraid of the stairs, just go down the grass hill and do something about it.
Yeah, but I don't know. And then so they get into the plane, and then Herbie again has another catapult of bananas ready, which goes into the propeller, and then they're covered in banana juice?
Banana juice.
Yeah.
Banana juice.
You know how bananas are really watery and they have a lot of juice inside of them?
Yeah. And okay, this is kind of dumb, but I honestly didn't realize the banana connection to the title until we started talking about it today. which is just so surface level. I mean, like because Herbie doesn't even really go crazy. He's just
No.
just helping Paco, but
Yeah. I mean, he does go
besides
crazy
the
on the
point.
cruise. He does go a little bananas on the cruise.
He does go a little bananas.
For like no reason. Like,
I mean, I guess it's because they tried to lock Paco up, and so
right. So
he decided to just do a bunch of property damage to like and drive in circles on the boat.
Like, you're not going to be able to go anywhere, Herbie.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, he has to
All right.
protect Paco.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they get in the plane, and here it is. I'll let one of you guys take it.
This is on par with any great climax of any film ever. This is
it's a good, like, what, 10, 15-minute scene?
Yeah. So the plane, they're trying to take off, but they need to pick up speed because I think what he says is, the pilot says, with all this extra weight, we're going to need to, and I'm like, okay, so you weren't planning on 3 people and an ink and gold disc.
Yes, right? I was thinking that too. They're like, oh man, God, I can't take off with all this extra weight. I was like, what was your plan originally?
What were you doing? I was like,
Yeah.
Is it just the gold? Because I feel like you should have planned to fly 4 people. Like, is the gold heavy enough? Because they were struggling. I'm like, you can't take off?
Yeah,
So,
they were struggling, but the fact that they can lift it with their hands, like, it's not that heavy. They're acting like it's a ton. But, okay.
Maybe it was the banana juice. I don't know. Maybe the banana juice is really dense. But, like, they can't take off. So they're kind of just driving around this field, this soccer field that is outside of the doctor's place. Maybe it's a campus. I don't know.
Office or whatever.
And so they're going, and Herbie is chasing, and Paco is like banging on the top of Herbie because he's a ragtop, and he's just like, go, go, go. My favorite line is where he says, "You hurt, Ocho? You don't sound so good." And then within 2 seconds, he goes, "Keep going, Ocho."
I thought that was so funny too. I was like, man, you sound really bad. Well, shut up and keep going.
He's like, you sound not so good. You can't stop. Keep going. We have to get this gold back for no reason.
Yeah.
So this is crazy. This is my favorite part, is that they're just kind of munching on the tail of the plane. Herbie's driving fast enough that he can open and close his trunk, like the you know, this part, you know, he's doing this, and he just breaks off one of the tails, and they're like, why are we going in circles? And the guy's like, he broke off one of our tails. I'm like, is that how planes work? You just don't have one of them, you just go
in circles.
You can't steer, like, it was just the fins that were I don't know.
Yeah.
My favorite shot in this is when, I don't remember how they do this, they drive in front of them as they're about to take off.
Yeah.
And there's a soccer net. And did you guys see the terrible compositing on this? Because it was incredible. The plane starts to take off, and they get caught in a net. They get caught in like a soccer net, and the shot is really terrible. Of like, and like, you know, it's 1980, but like, you had $10 million apparently. You could have gotten rid of half the bananas you had. I don't know.
Yes.
And
the banana budget.
And literally, the plane starts to fly up, and then it goes at like a really awkward, like it jilts like this. And it gets caught in the net.
Yes.
It goes like, and then
what? How did they do that? What did they do? It's so funny how it's just on the ground, and then suddenly it's
and then that rips off the back half of the plane, like entirely. So now they're just like this weird, like, seesaw plane, just still driving.
Yeah,
I don't know how planes work. Is this how planes?
I have no idea, but they're driving, and then Herbie's still following them.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember exactly what happened, but at this point, the plane is destroyed, and the pilot is like, "Oh, I don't want to do that because I can't risk my plane." And it's
It's like
I don't even remember what they were trying to do, but I guess it was a joke, but it was just. I don't know. It's
so they go down the drive. Now they can fit down the street that led up to the doctor's campus office thing. So they're going down. In the meantime, Louise has gathered like military vehicles, police vehicles. Like, that's what she was doing while the drivers and Melissa went up to the doctor, right? Like, she went, because then all these police cars roll up, and Louise is with them, and she's like, "Paco, you're okay." And the adults have untied themselves and run down, and they're following, and they're going, and then the plane hits like a rope, and it just kind of collapses,
Yeah.
right? And that's how they stop the bad guys. And the gold literally rolls out the back half of the plane because it's just open air. It's open to the air now, and the gold rolls to the back, like rolls out the back, and then I think they just like pick it up.
Yeah, what happens to the gold?
I think it just ends up on the street.
That's the other thing. I thought like maybe they were gonna like use the gold to like build the community or something, like
Right.
something positive with the money from it, or donate it to a
No.
museum. But it just kind of it's like get it away from the bad guy, and that's it.
And
That's all you
it.
had to do.
It says so much that we don't know what happens to the gold after this.
Yeah, it's just they saved it, but
they saved the gold, and then yeah, and then this is just where it kind of cuts back to them on the cruise, right? It's just they're back on the cruise, and it's Louise is doing like a sexy dance, trying to get the captain's attention. But then it's a joke because at the end he's looking at a pirate ship, like a full scale modern, like it's a pirate ship.
It's
just it was a beautiful ship. It was
a beautiful ship, but why is that out? Do people still sail ships like that in 1980? Like
they do them now, actually. Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. I didn't know. That's awesome. So yeah, so he sees that boat.
And it's kind of sad. I mean, I guess it would have been cliche for him to get together, but I kind of thought that was going to be a plot, like a subplot is like,
like she was going to make him a better person or something.
Yeah. And like he would change it, like not necessarily let go of his love for ships, but then realize that human connection is valuable or something.
Right. He has no respect for people. He wants to be a pirate so bad. And he's just like, this boat is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And then she's kind of like, well, and like, what is that? Like, you spend this whole movie building up to their, like, she likes him and he doesn't like her. And you think that I was expecting some sort of cliche and like props to them, but it feels more like they just left me unsatisfied.
Yeah, I guess the lesson here is ship matter more human than human.
Yep.
That's the lesson.
Yeah, that is the lesson. And no one will stop this captain. He is a tyrant. He is dumping people's property into the ocean. He is treating his passengers like crap, and no one's gonna stop him. He's this tyrannical cruise captain.
I thought that because it was 1980, it was gonna be a joke that he was gay, and it was going to be like this whole thing because he's always talking about ravaging women and all that thing, and be like, haha, he's actually gay. But they didn't do that. So
like I don't understand who this man is and why he's allowed to do anything that he's allowed to do.
So I think actually I'm going to get into this now, not my rating, because it's more relevant. I think that the captain was the only realized joke here. The joke was that, it's this he's a cruise captain, but he's constantly, right? It's that all of the crew members are like, oh, captain, I'm quite afraid. And he carries a cat of nine tails, and he talks about the laws of the sea and whipping people and how everything, right? It's just a huge joke because he's a cruise captain, right?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous that he's like, oh, there's a right punishment for this, right? He pulls out a cat of nine tails, and his crewman guy, the guy with the mustache, is wearing like a nice little tuxedo, right?
Yeah.
And it's just this, right? So I felt like that was the only joke that had substance.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
like he as a joke had substance. And I mean, none of the characters really had anything, so I'm not gonna knock him on that. I mean, I guess, he was the most, I understood, even though he had no reason to be in the plot, you still, knew what his priorities were, I guess.
Yeah.
And those were never clouded in mystery.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the film ends there, basically. Paco is in a driving...
He's in his little spaceman racer suit. Yeah.
And I was like, heck yeah. Keep the race. And he gets in the car, and they're all smiling and laughing.
Melissa has her hair down and is not wearing glasses anymore. He's
yep.
officially hot now.
The credits roll. That's it.
Credits roll immediately. He gets in the car, boom. Credits roll.
He gets in the car and he does doesn't he do a thumbs up, and then that's and then it plays Our Friend.
Yeah.
Friendship. It's I think my last notes were just It's a shame we don't get to see Herbie race once in this whole movie.
Not once.
I hate this stupid friendship song. And then my final note was, I'm glad this franchise died for 17 years after this one.
And yeah, I watched Herbie Fully Loaded growing up. Like
Right.
that was my connection to Herbie.
Yeah.
And I don't remember much because it's been a long time, but I do remember really liking it.
Yeah.
I don't remember pretty much anything from that movie except they really lean in on the sex appeal of what's her name.
Well, see, here's an interesting fact about that movie. Disney paid for CGI to decrease her bust size in that movie because Disney was worried that she was too busty.
Ah.
So they CGI'd her boobs.
God, what is this, BYU?
I don't know. I don't know. That movie, I think, like no matter what we say about Herbie Goes Bananas or any of the Herbie movies, that franchise ran from 1968 to 2005 with like a 17-year gap, sure, but like.
And I mean, the first movie, it at the time it was the second highest grossing movie Disney had made in terms of like, I guess like live action. I should specify. Yeah. So it was a big hit, at least the first one. So it makes sense that it like spawned a franchise.
So yeah, Herbie went bananas. Herbie goes bananas.
Herbie is bananas.
Herbie is, and at one point Herbie was bananas. He's literally made a
more accurate title, to be honest.
Herbie is bananas. That should have been.
Herbie be bananas.
Herbie do be bananas though.
Oh my god. All right. I guess any other notes from the movie? I mean, we're pretty thorough with it, you know?
Yeah, we were really thorough.
Yeah, I guess the only things I have to say would be in my review. So should we jump into it?
Okay. I'm going to give, this is going to be really surprising, actually. I give this, for the amount that I've crapped on this movie, I'm actually going to give it a pinky up. And I'll explain why. Because my mom very much...
You have two hands. What's happening?
Oh, I give it a pinky and a no thumb, then.
What does this mean?
Oh, Max, we need to explain the rating system.
Yes, please do.
So it truly makes no sense. It makes some sense. So basically, like, you have two hands. Mm-hmm. So you could give, like, each hand, you can give a rating. So, like, the maximum high rating would be 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
Maximum low rating, I think, would be 2 middle fingers.
Oh, okay, cool.
But you could also just do 2 thumbs up. Or 2 thumbs
middle fingers are only special. They're, like, occasional. They're not, like, an actual.
Yeah.
Like,
middle fingers are for, like, you hated this movie with all of your guts, which I don't think you did.
No.
So I give this film a pinky and a no thumb because I remember when I was a kid and also a teenager, my mom loved getting us to watch these old Disney movies that she grew up with. So we watched like The Computer That Wore Tennis Shoes, The Cat from Outer Space, Blackbeard's Ghost, all those kind of movies, right? And I feel like, I don't know if those movies were actually, like, most of them weren't great, because, I mean, some of them were good, right? I was not a big fan of Blackbeard, or The Cat from Outer Space.
Blackbeard's Ghost?
But, yeah.
Captain of the track team, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The funniest, there's a scene where Blackbeard literally does a pole vault. That scene was hilarious. I loved that scene of the movie. But anyway, I feel like if my mom had made us watch this movie, I would have been, like, pleasantly okay with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So would I choose to watch this movie? No. But if my mom made me watch this movie, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I give it a pinky up and a no. So that's my rating.
Okay.
Jonathan, I believe in you that you can get better.
I will peace out. But
I think your mom would make you watch that.
What? What make you watch what?
Herbie Goes Bananas.
I didn't make you watch that.
Max made you watch that.
I chose this movie.
No.
So you're blaming me for watching Herbie. Okay.
Okay, I don't even know. I'm so tired. I can't even. Never mind.
Okay,
I retract everything I just said.
All right.
There it is.
All right. Is that a knife? Okay. Bye, guys. You guys deal with Elizabeth.
Bye.
5.
All right. Okay, I'm ready.
4, 3, 2, 1. Hands up. Okay, so what? No, we got a new finger? Oh no, we got a pointer finger. What does that equal now?
I don't know. I was just like, I mean, Like it's up, but it's really down. Like
Is it a little bit more than a pinky?
yeah, I'd say. I
No,
mean,
but that's what the ring finger is. That's what I did last time.
oh well. See, this is just. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to introduce a new finger. I thought I
You
assumed
just said
that
you could
this
make one up
that
though.
the most prominent finger that is used the most would have been used at some point.
Yeah.
All right, so I would just say this is like 1 point for like my nostalgia for the franchise and stuff, and like the things that it kind of did right. But this like far outweighs it. Like this is not a good movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're a podcast, so we should say it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll go through.
Okay, so yeah, before you explain it, just give a what did you say? Like
Okay.
So should we end with Max or should we start with Max?
I can start. I want to hear your guys' stuff.
Okay.
I've talked a lot. Okay, I have my my right pointer finger up and my left thumb down. I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Like I skimmed through this one when I was watching all of them like a while ago, just because I didn't want to watch this one. For some reason, this is the only one I had on DVD growing up, even though I think it's the worst one. Like it doesn't have a race in it. I think that's what really kills it for me. Is I'm like, there's not a race, and that's like the whole point. But yeah, so I think like the characters had none of the characters really had like the film constantly contradicts the reasons for its characters to be there. It's like these are the Herbie's drivers, so they want Herbie back, and then they're like, as soon as Herbie's gone, they don't care. And I'm like, okay. And then it's like Louise is sponsoring the car, but again, as soon as Herbie is gone, she shouldn't care. She cares about Paco, I guess. I guess because he's a kid. The captain should just want to get back to his ship. He shouldn't, like, he keeps saying that, but he never does it. Like, he calls, but like, I don't know, like he could have just started running at any time during the film. He didn't need to do it at the end. And like it just doesn't make it any sense really at all if you think about it beyond like it on a surface level. Like it's kind of fun, like it's entertaining enough to watch. Like you're like, oh wow, Herbie's a matador now, that's cool. Herbie's covered in bananas, that's pretty cool. You know, and like it is, and like it is like a kid's movie, so like it makes sense. Like the bad guys are slipping on banana peels, but like it's just not very good. I would just say that. So I think I mean, and then obviously like point to everything else I've said during this. So
I think that's a very, very fair rating.
Thanks. All right, so there we go.
All right, ladies first pair. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was gonna give this 2 thumbs down or 2 middle fingers. I knew it was gonna be bad. This was a new level because there are bad things that were like somebody's baby. You know, it's like, oh, you really tried. It was this dumb. This was incompetence. It was like, oh my God. What? So, but why I ended up giving it a thumbs down and a pinky down. And I was like, you know, there are movies I hate more than this one. And 2, I'm not going to base it off of stuff that I just don't like about kids movies, right? It's like when something that just doesn't make sense, but it's funny, that's fine. It's a kids movie. But when me as an adult cannot follow the story, how is a child going to understand what is going on? So,
kids don't need to understand what's going on.
That's
we don't need to make competent narratives for kids to follow because they're smart people.
However, as I was thinking about it more, I was like, they did some pretty cool car stuff. The stuff that they did with the car was cool enough to be like, okay, they did some cool things. And that scene with the bull, the fact that they pulled it off was good. I mean, there wasn't very good acting throughout the entire movie. It was all really bad. But you know,
as if like they're acting in capital letters all the time. And I feel like that's kind of like a Disney trait almost.
Yeah.
But it's like really overdone, like in the first scene where they're like talking to Paco and he's like, welcome to Mexico. They're like, gracias.
Yeah.
But continue what you were saying.
I mean, and then I also have a little bias point that gave me a little point up. Is that something that gave me joy in this movie was Pete's fashion. I loved the way he dressed. I loved his pants. I loved his shirts. I wanted to dress like that. I want to be like that. I really liked the way Pete dressed, and it was enough that I was like, well, I enjoyed some parts. So it's not entirely 2 thumbs down. So
Not entirely just because of Pete's fashion sense.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was nice. And I guess no, actually no. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Yeah, what was my rating? I think I did a no thumb and a thumbs down. I mean, my thoughts kind of echo your guys's. I think like my biggest problem, and it like when I watch bad movies, like objectively bad movies, is if they're still entertaining to me, I will give it, some props because it's like a bad movie that's so bad it's good. Where in this case, my biggest issue was it got boring for me because it's like, yeah, there isn't really a plot. There is no motivation. There's no like actual true antagonist or climax. I mean, I guess there is a climax of the movie, but it's just so like, I kept asking myself over and over again, like, why do I care about anything that's happening? And I think the only character that has any, I don't know, any value, that's a little harsh, but
yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, I mean, like Paco and Herbie, that's like the main relationship in the movie. But even that is just so surface level. And it's like, Paco's literally like, can we be friends now? And Herbie's like, yes. And then they're the best friends of forever. And it's like, why does that happen exactly? Like, I guess Herbie saves him and stuff, but it just, they waste a lot of time, I think, that they could have used to develop those relationships. And they wasted it on kind of silly one-off jokes and such. And
that weren't even really good.
they're never good. And it's like, DJ could literally not exist. A lot of characters could literally not exist in this movie, and it wouldn't really make a difference. The acting, we already touched on that. But I didn't want to be totally pessimistic and be like, this is the worst movie ever. Because, kind of like Pear said, I recognize it's a kid's movie. And so sometimes with kids' movies, you don't necessarily need it to be deep and profound. But I think there are a lot of examples of kid movies that are fun and enjoyable, but also, have a sense of profoundness to them. And it's like, it's not like kids are dumb, like completely dumb. Like they can still respect a good story at the end of the day. And so, that was like my main issues with it. I mean, that's the other thing I think. So I haven't watched the other Love Bugs, but I'm pretty clear racing is a big aspect of it, right? So it seems like they're trying to lean more into like this family-friendly, like adventure-y kind of movie. And so they kind of took a risk in not having their typical race scene. But the problem is what they replaced it with is so absolutely nothing that it's just like, why did he do that? Like, we could have just seen a cool race scene. Like, the best parts of this movie were just when the car was cool, Like, lean into that. That's your whole...
That's the draw of the franchise.
Yeah.
Totally. The best parts of this movie are the parts where it's Herbie doing something ridiculous, but I think, or like a stunt, or like something where you go, how'd they do that? That's cool. It's cool that they did that. But there's not enough of that in this movie. There's so much time spent with people that don't make sense and we don't care about.
Which really resolves into nothing.
Exactly. And like they don't even reach a conclusion. There's no arc for anyone. Like, does anyone learn anything in this movie?
Yeah, and like is it implied that now, like, what happens to Paco? He's an orphan. Right. He has no home.
They're just letting, like, what's gonna be the take where like they're like, who's driving your car in the Brazilian circuit? Oh, an orphan 7-year-old? How are you related to him? You're not?
Oh.
Where does he come from? I don't know, we just put him in the car. All right, these white people who are
we found an urchin boy
child race their car in a dangerous race.
This is a blessing for him, honestly.
But I guess
he's thanking us.
He should be thanking us. But I guess this is a universe where people don't question that Herbie drives himself.
Yeah,
everyone just keeps going. So I guess, like, I'm so, and we never know what happens after this. There's not another movie where someone mentions the previous movie. because the next two movies are like a reboot and then one that's they don't want to get into the weird stuff, you know? So it's like, but like, again, like,
oh, sorry.
no, I was just going to actually try and get and to finish my point I started with because I got off topic.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Characters don't learn anything. Paco does not learn not to steal. It seems like that he doesn't learn anything. The drivers don't learn anything at all. Like, what did they? Nothing. Louise learns that the captain just isn't that into her, but she knew that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And the captain doesn't change at all either. So, like, you can have characters that don't change, but like, are they
nothing of consequence
at all
happens, or is
that happens to
like,
Melissa. She takes her glasses off.
Yeah, Melissa's the only character that changes, and it's,
and even that is so surface
even that's
level.
like, what? Like, how are you all? How does this work? You know? So,
I mean, it's her lesson that like she has to change herself to be beautiful. Is that the lesson she learns?
That seems to be the only lesson that anyone learns, which is weird.
There's just not even an inkling of sense in this movie, is what I'm saying. There's one part where they question that Herbie can drive himself, and it's for like 30 seconds, and it's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, hey, I'm not doing it. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, even Paco is like, oh man, you want me to get into your trunk? Okay. He's like, oh, now we're friends. We're buddies. He's not like, he doesn't even ask him like, hey, how did you get to be this way? Where did you come from? Right? There's nothing. There's not everybody like, oh man, it's that self-driving car that I just found out about, and it's coming after us. What?
But it's this, I guess, like, it's a sequel. It's the fourth sequel. I guess it's asking too much, but like,
we should at least whatever end it by saying we're done. So it doesn't just end abruptly.
Okay.
All right.
You're done.
Thanks. Well, okay. Yeah. All right. I'll do the classic. Thanks for listening, guys. If you wanna watch or listen to more, you can subscribe. And I know what you're thinking. Am I cool enough to subscribe? And the answer is yeah.
Max, when you edit it, I demand that actually.
That'll be the ending. That'll be it.
All right.